Hi guys, today I'm going to be showing you how to create a webinar on Zoho Meeting. Welcome to another how-to video by Finlanza, where we show you how to use Zoho to make your business processes easier, faster, more efficient and effective. Today I'm going to be showing you how to create a webinar on Zoho Meeting. So let's get right into it. Once you click Zoho Meeting over here, this is how it looks like. So you just come here to create a webinar. You'll go to schedule a live webinar. So let's wait for it to load. So this is how it looks like. You will enter your title. For example, you want to have something on Zoho Expense. You previously had something on Zoho Expense. Manage. Their expenses effectively. And then you enter a description. This is what someone who clicks that link will see. They will be redirected to a Zoho Meeting landing page, and this is what they'll see. So you can say something like, learn how to manage your expenses. Okay, so the webinar type is a live webinar. You can set the start date. Let's say we want to set it to Friday. And then the time here, we want it to be at 3 p.m. Okay, for 1 hour. That's right. Time zone, East African time zone. And then you can select a recurring webinar if you want it to be appearing the same date every month at the same time. But since this is just a one-time webinar, you don't select this. And then the other thing is you can choose to skip and finish, but it will take you to another place where you can keep on adding your details, or you can just choose to come here. So I'll skip and finish so that I can show you how it looks like after that. So let's come to total registrations. This is the number that you'll see of how many people have registered. So the setup is with registration, but you can choose without registration where you just share the link and then they'll be able to join the webinar. But with registration, you can choose to add the number of fields that you want, which is over here, manage fields. This is how it looks like. It usually comes with the first name, the last name, and the email address. And we can choose to add other fields. So for example, we usually like to add phone. We can add organization there, we can add job title, and then you can add their city. And then this is where you mark the fields as mandatory if you want the phone to be mandatory. We usually also maybe want the organization to be mandatory, and then let's leave this, and maybe the city. Let's leave the job title is not mandatory. So let's save this. So you can see now the fields have changed. There are more now. And now once someone registers, you'll be able to get those details. But if you click details, you will just see their name and their email. I'll show you how that looks like later on in the video. Then the next part is moderation. You can choose to moderate this, whereby registrants will just automatically receive information about joining the webinar immediately they register, or you can choose it to be manual, where you have to manually approve every registrant after they've registered before they actually receive information on how to join the webinar. The next part is engagement. So on engagement, you usually have session files and polls. These are session files are just files that you can have through the session, and then polls are questions. So I've gone through the liberty of adding this question over here, but I'll show you how to add another one. So session files are just files that you can add to throughout the session. So they could either be documents or video files, and then you can get them from your computer, from Zoho Drive, or your files if you have them. So polls these ones run throughout the webinar. During the webinar, you'll be able to start the poll at whatever time you pick, and then you'll also be able to share the results once people have voted. So if you want to add a poll, you just come here and put in a question. So for example, you could add poll you be open to using Zoho expense, and then you could put in multiple choice like yes, no, because it seems like a single choice answer. So you can put maybe so this is single choice, but so this is single choice, but if you want multiple choice, you can pick that. So you just add the question and then it will appear here. Preferences are usually for questions and other features like recording. So for questions, you can allow attendees to use the Q&A option during the webinar. We can check this if you don't want them to ask questions. You can allow anonymous questions. So that means people can just send in questions without having to provide their names. Like you won't see their names, and you can turn it off, like they've said here, to avoid repeated spam questions. And then you can choose to show questions to all. You can check it off, but we usually like to show the questions to everyone so that people don't ask the same question repeatedly. Recording, you can start to record your sessions as soon as you start your webinar, or you can choose to leave this as it is, and then during the webinar there's an option to start the recording. So for us, we usually leave it like that. We don't start immediately because we usually give a 10-minute allowance for people to join. So we don't want to record that part where no one is speaking. So we usually just start it manually during the webinar. If you know you might forget and you really want the recording, make sure just check it. Video recording is where you can choose to record your webcam video feed along with now the webinar. So we usually allow that. And then the other features are to display the attendee list to everyone. You can choose to display it or not, check or not check. Use emoji reaction. People can react with emojis. And then post webinar redirection, this is where they'll be directed to a custom web page. So you can choose your website, you can choose a landing page, you can choose your product page. If maybe the webinar was advertising your product or speaking about your product, you can choose to redirect them. So once you click that, you can see you have to put in a link to where they'll be redirected. The next part is emails, the emails that come pre-webinar and post-webinar. So pre-webinar are usually mainly for confirming registration and sending attendees the details. That is the registrants the details and also reminders. So post-webinar are usually follow-ups. So I already configured this, but I'm going to show you how to do it. You can choose to edit over here. So here you just edit the templates of how you want them to look like. There are so many over here, and you can choose to edit them. So there are usually different types of emails for the pre-webinar. Let's start with pre-webinar. There is registration confirmation. Once they immediately register, reminder 1, reminder 2, reminder 3, and then now post-webinar are the follow-ups. So if you come back here, you can configure the timing that you want the emails to be sent out, especially for the reminder emails. So for example, like for us, we've put our webinar on Friday. So we usually want to remind them a day before the webinar. You change it over here on settings. So you can choose the timing. We put a day before the webinar, but maybe if your webinar you advertise, maybe your webinar is now 2 weeks later or in 2 weeks, you can choose to remind them a week before and everything. So for the second email reminder, you can choose the different timings: 10 minutes before the webinar, 2 hours, 12 hours, 6 hours, a day. You decide the timing based on how your webinar is set up, the kind of audience you have, your company, everything. But as let's put 6 hours before the webinar for the second reminder email, and you can also choose to check this off. Maybe you just want 2 reminders, maybe you want 1 reminder, but we usually like to keep on reminding our our attendees. And this is because of actual webinars that we've had, and then we've gotten feedback. So people are like, I registered and then I wasn't able to attend before because I forgot. So we usually like to remind our attendees as many times as possible, just so they don't actually miss out. Interested people don't actually miss out because they simply forgot. So with that reminder, you can choose to configure the timing here. Let's put 15 minutes before the webinar so that they can get it a bit earlier and plan themselves. So yeah, those are for the reminder emails. The post webinar are the follow-ups. Send the thank you email to attendees 10 minutes after the webinar ends. Of course, you can choose to edit it here and then include the recording if you'd like. If you want to maybe get the recording beforehand and make edits, do everything, you can get the recordings here on files on the home meeting. So you download the recording, make your edits or whatever, and then send it out. But if you are okay with how the recording was, you can just send immediately. And then for the absentees, you also configure the timing here, and then you can choose to include recording as well. So what's remaining is source tracking. You can add your source. So if maybe you want to see where your registrants are coming from, you can put in a source name. For example, like your social media, maybe your Instagram, your LinkedIn, also your website, or maybe a particular landing page. So you'll be able to see if, for example, you had like 40 attendees or 40 registrants, you'll be able to see 20 came from your website, 5 came from Instagram, another 5 came from Facebook, the remaining came from LinkedIn and everything. So this is where you'll be able to add those sources, and then you'll get the insights on where the registrants are coming from. So yeah, that's it. After that, one thing I forgot to show you was co-organizing. You can choose to add a co-organizer. So for example, if maybe you're like the marketer and this is on Zoho Expense and you want to co-organize it with someone from your finance department, you can add them as a co-organizer over here, put in their email address and their name, and then add, and then they'll be added as a co-organizer. So after that, we usually, now everything is looking okay, we can now get the link. So click here, get the webinar link, share it to your social media, to your website, to everywhere. And then also you can get a code snippet to include it in your website, your landing page, everything. And you can also choose to share directly to the social media sites here. So let's copy this link. I will show you how it looks on the browser once you paste it on the browser or someone clicks the link that you've shared. And basically what's remaining is just this pane over here where you see all the webinar information on the ID, date and time zone, the duration, who is the organizer, the department they're from, and then you can also directly promote the webinar on Zoho campaigns, a feature that I absolutely love. You don't have to go to campaigns and then start a new campaign and everything. And yeah, and then another last thing is, remember we added a co-organizer. They'll be able to see this information and then they can make their own edits, of course, after you've discussed and everything. And they also get the link so that they can be able to share with their network or people they might know. So I will paste the link into the browser, and then I will show you how it looks on the browser, how the Zoho Meeting landing page looks like. I've pasted the link into my browser, and this is how the Zoho Meeting landing page usually looks like. Um, this is the company logo. This is the title of the webinar that we gave. This is a description. A good tip is to make sure you expound on the description. Make sure you use catchy language. Include details so that people who register know what they're signing up for. Make sure it's catchy so that people don't only click the link, they actually follow through and register for the webinar. So here we have the time where the webinar when the webinar will be happening and the date, and then it has a countdown of how long it takes before the webinar starts. And now this section is where people fill in their details. So for example, let's fill in John. as the first name, let's use Walker. Email address could be Johnny Walker. Let's use zoho.com. And then phone number, we have +2547. This number is purely coincidental. It matches your number and you're watching this. I just pressed some keys on my keyboard. Organization, let's say they're from XYZ organization. And then city, they're in Nairobi. And then the job title, maybe they're account manager. Now let's put accountant, so that because this is also expense webinar, everything seems right. Okay. Oops. Okay. Now let's register. Great. So once that person registers for the webinar, this is how it will look like for them. It's saying email registered because I clicked twice, but it will say thank you for registering, and then you have the option to add it to your calendar. So calendar, Google Calendar, Outlook, Yahoo, whatever you use. And then they even have an option of copying the link and sharing it to people they know, people in their network. So always encourage your people to share the webinar. So now let's go back to Zoho Meeting and see if the number has increased from 0 to now 1 participant. We are back here at Zoho Meeting. Let's see, you can see the number of registrants has increased by 1, the person we've added. If you click on details, you'll be able to see their details. That's their name and their email. You won't be able to see all the details that they had added, like organization, phone number, and everything on this view. But if you choose to export it, once you export, you'll be able to see all the other details. It's always a good practice to export this so that you can be able to have their details separately, and then you can choose maybe to add them in your contacts or your mailing list or anything of the sort. So that's it for creating a webinar on Zoho Meeting. In case you have any questions, in case you're interested, please feel free to comment in the comment section, and we have our details over there. Reach out to us and we'll help you, or we'll guide you, or we'll set this up for you. Thank you for sticking through until the end of this video. Have a lovely day. Remember to share this video to someone you know it might help. Subscribe to our channel for more videos like this, and follow our social media sites. Keep on the lookout so that you can see our upcoming how-to videos and learn how you can use Zoho for your business.